What's up, everybody? We are back for another episode of TMP. My special guest today, also from the Netherlands, Wesley Vissers. What's up, my man?
What's up, guys? Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
A lot of people would probably call you Vissers or Vissers.
Yeah. Sounds pretty cool, though.
But I know in Europe it's different. It's in Germany. I would also say Vissers. You know?
Exactly.
So I understand it, but I just wanted to make sure. So Wesley, you're from the Netherlands. I talked to William, who's also from Holland. So are you guys close in the same city, or you guys see each other on a regular?
Or actually pretty far apart. So he lives closer to the Amsterdam, the busier cities, and I live more towards the south. Okay. So it's at least an hour driving, if not more, with traffic. So we have trained twice together already. So that was very awesome. I've learned a lot from it. Actually recorded as well on the YouTube channel. So, but we should do it more often, because every time I train with him, I learn a lot. You know, he's one of the best bodybuilders in the world. So whenever I can train with him, it's a privilege. So yeah.
So what's the city called where you're from?
I'm from Eindhoven. That's where I live right now.
Eindhoven, yeah, I know exactly where that is. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Pretty close to the border, yeah.
Yeah. So you born and raised there?
No, I actually lived here because my girlfriend lives here. I used to live in a smaller town, probably Raamsdonksveer. No one really heard about it, but it's a smaller town in the Netherlands, about 40 minutes from here. So, but then I met my girlfriend in right here, and after a while, I decided to come over here because I lived with my parents before.
Okay.
And as a bodybuilder, it's not always really going to be the nicest thing to be in the kitchen where your parents are as well and prepping all your food. And having a girlfriend who understands this, it's much easier to live the bodybuilding lifestyle like that.
Is she a competitor too, or she just understands and supports?
She was a competitor before. She did a few contests as well. So when I first saw her, laid eyes on her, she was actually eating from a Tupperware container. So I immediately knew, okay, she knows what it's about. So I already knew right then.
Okay, who was Wesley in his younger days? How old are you now? I don't even know how old you are.
I'm 27.
So you're still a baby.
Yeah.
Man, you're still 27. My daughter is 28 this month.
Oh, wow.
Actually, she's 28 next week. So you still, I call you a baby. I'm not literally, but, when I look back, I said, damn, when you can call somebody with 27 that I could always be your daddy or could be your daddy, that tells me how old I really am. Damn. Damn, this is it. So you're 27 years old. You've been a pro for how long?
Since 24, so 3 years.
Since 24?
Yeah.
What'd you say, 24?
Yeah, well...
24 years. I'm looking 24. Yeah. 24 will be in 2 years.
So it's 24, yeah.
My bad. So 2 years. 3 years you've been a pro.
Yeah.
So where did you get your pro card?
At the Royal London Pro, the very first Classic Physique show in Europe. So when that was here, very close to my home, basically only just 1.5 hours of flying, I went immediately, and I was like, okay, this is the perfect opportunity to go from the super heavyweight class, which I was in the Netherlands, to go do what I really want to do, the Classic Physique class, and that worked out great.
So when Classic Physique came out, you said, "Oh, this is it. There now, I'm kicking ass this time."
Exactly.
So you knew you were classic all the way. So you were also, did you do the classic poses also as a super heavyweight?
Yeah, actually, the very first show I ever did as a junior already did the Arnold poses, but without the muscles, so it didn't really look as good. But I was really a fan of that kind of posing. So right from the beginning, before I even knew what truly the difference between classic bodybuilding and regular bodybuilding is, I already envied the physiques of the 70s and 80s, and that's what I wanted to be like. And from the start, unconsciously, I already did those poses, and throughout the years, as I built more muscle, I recognized which poses looked best for me, and the Arnold poses I just love to do. So that's why I used to do those from the beginning.
So you can basically put yourself in that position, and you can see yourself as one of those guys back in the 70s when you hit them shots, because you look perfect in the poses. I mean, that I can see when someone poses, I can see how much effort you put in to posing, because that's the difference between classic and bodybuilding. Because bodybuilding, people don't really pay attention to the posing routines or the poses, the way they execute poses. And that's the difference between classic. It's not only the physique, it's also the way you display. So you put a lot of time in posing, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, when I started practicing the harder Arnold poses, like the 3/4 back double bicep, for example, it looks very easy to do when Arnold does it, but when you actually try to do it yourself, it's much more difficult. So I actually slowed down the video to see, okay, how is he transitioning to this pose, and what is he doing with his arms, how are his legs moving? And it took me several days of repeating and recording myself to actually perfect that transition myself. And that's the kind of effort it takes for me, who is not a talented posing at all, to actually execute poses like that correctly. And that's what makes it fun to me as well, to actually show the hard work I put into the poses through my physique on stage.
Yeah, I call that paying attention to detail, and that's a great thing to do. So how long have you been training lifting weights, period? I mean,
since I was 14 years old, so about 13 years.
Okay.
And of course, at the first few years, you're never as serious because you have no idea where you're going to go with it. And but after a few years, I started to notice some muscle gain in my body, and that's when it starts to get fun, because then you realize, oh, something is actually happening when I'm training in the gym. So you then keep going and going, you get stronger, and that just builds up upon itself. And exactly through my puberty, my testosterone was rising, and I was growing more and more. So that's when I was actually starting to go doing contests as well, because I noticed that the progress was actually going quite quickly, and I fell in love with it. But it did take around 7 years before I gained the confidence to actually step on stage myself.
Okay, so were you basically doing this all without supplements in the beginning?
Yeah. The first show I wanted to do without supplements to prove to myself, okay, do I have what it takes? Can I win a show just by the effort I put into the gym with my nutrition plan? Will my physique actually look like something on stage like this? And if it does, then I'm going to take the next step. And I won the overall at my first show, and knowing that I had a talent for it at that point. Only then I realized that, because I had no idea that there were even amateur shows available. I used to watch the Mr. Olympia, and I saw Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler battling it out. I was like, okay, is this the kind of physique you need to have for contests? And then I realized, oh, there's amateur shows as well, and junior shows. And that's when I joined a junior show and actually won it. And that's really what got me into the real bodybuilding scene and getting to the next step.
Yeah, I kind of know what it's like, what the sport is like in Europe. It's a little different than here in the U.S. There's way more information in the U.S., and I realized that after I came here, but I know how it is in Europe. So for you, how was it for you to start a sport and seeing that your body responds? Because listen, the guys on top in this bodybuilding, it doesn't matter what any division, you got to have good genetics to even make it there. There's no luck. There's no luck to get to the Mr. Olympia. There's God-given genetics and, of course, hard work on top of it. So when did you realize I have what it takes, and how did you find out what to do and how to do it?
Well, first, the first few years that I worked out, I started to notice I was actually gaining muscle quite quickly, faster than the adults who were training in the same gym as me. And I trained in a gym like in a farmer's town, so there was no real hardcore bodybuilding going on there at all. So after a while, I was the biggest guy in the gym at 17 years old. And that's when I started to realize, okay, I'm actually growing a lot faster than everybody in this gym, even though everybody is doing pretty much the same movements, the same exercises, and not doing anything special at all. And that's when I realized that I had some kind of, talent, or my genetics were suited for bodybuilding, because I started to get stronger without following a nutrition plan at that point, because I was just a kid eating what I wanted, like tomato soup with white bread and like just weird things that I just happened to like at that point. And there was no even thoughts about taking in enough protein, except for some cottage cheese here and there that my dad told me about containing protein, but I had no idea. And until when I started to follow a true nutrition plan and actually started to follow a study called Nutrition and Dietetics, that's when I realized how much food can actually do for you in terms of changing your body, getting lean without losing muscle, actually gaining muscle, eating more protein, and taking in enough vegetables. All of this made my interest so much more that I took everything, all my time basically to study nutrition more. And eventually my body started to grow more and more because of the good nutrition. And that's when I started to believe in myself. Hey, I can actually do a contest now, because now I'm super conditioned naturally. I wasn't even trying to be conditioned, but just naturally by my own metabolism. So I didn't really have to diet for the show as much as other guys would. And my muscle mass and maturity, even at that age, was already there, comparing myself to the adults that I knew in the gym. So that's when someone told me in the gym, he was my first coach, but first he told me, okay, if you're going to do this contest, I'll be your coach for free for this first contest. And that's what persuaded me to actually do the show, because otherwise I would have never done it out of my own initiative, because I'm not a person that actually, at least at that time, I wasn't confident enough to actually do a bodybuilding show, because in the end you do stand there almost naked showing your body without actually realizing whether you're good or not. But when he told me that I was good enough for the show, and he showed me the physiques that usually show up at an amateur show here in the Netherlands, I started to believe I could actually have a shot at winning. And when that happened, that's when I truly was motivated to keep winning more and more shows. So it took that first show to convince me that I was good enough as a bodybuilder, and that's when the posing practice and never staying off a good nutrition plan anymore. So everything was dialed in at that point, and that's was age 20. So from then, that's when I really started to be very serious about the sport, and that's also when I noticed the most growth in my physique.
Yeah. So you had a coach basically showing you the ropes. Are you still with the same coach?
No, he was my coach for the first few shows. And then as I learned more about how to do it myself, we grew apart a little bit. And that's when I tried doing my own shows for a little while, until I got to a point where you needed even more expertise. And that's when I met another coach from Belgium who helped me actually get to the Olympia. So that's the coach I've been with for the longest.
So
this time right now, sorry?
No, go ahead.
At this time right now, I don't have a coach. So for the last Olympia, I didn't have a coach anymore, because at this point, I believe that I know my body so well that when I do hire a coach, or when a coach helps me, it might actually interfere with what I believe to be the best solution at that moment. So that would not work for me anymore, unless I realized that by myself, when I keep doing shows, my shape isn't there, but I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
So you basically judge yourself?
Joe Weider's Olympia here in Orlando, Florida.
A little bit strange coming out of Las Vegas for all of those years.
Good evening, and welcome to the event that nearly never happened.
There's been an absence of a particular group of people on this stage that are back tonight. Tonight I'm here to say, welcome back to Miss Olympia.
Yeah.
So you don't need anybody to say, just give me a second look and tell me what you see, because maybe if I look at myself, how I was, we bodybuilders, we don't go to the bathroom without getting a look in the mirror. I mean, everybody. It doesn't matter if you take a piss or whatever. You're gonna get a good look in your mirror, and and,
Exactly.
and especially when it gets closer to a show. Now we posing. We in the bathroom. We're not the bathroom getting ready. We posing. So you don't get to the point where you like someone's opinion. Closer to a show where you said, hey, did you have a person that, he's not trying to tell you what to do. He's just basically giving you an honest assessment of what he's seeing, just to be sure.
Yeah, I do. Well, my girlfriend actually helps me being very honest about my physique, because she can really be honest in a positive and a less positive way.
The perfect answer. Yes.
Yeah, that's perfect. And she also takes progress pictures like every other week. Right now, for example, we have a whole dashboard of when I first started the prep, and then a few weeks in, a few weeks later, and then ultimately it's going to be every week. And then I can objectively see the differences in my physique. And I can also check back, okay, what did I look like for the Romania Pro, for example, when I won? What was my conditioning back then? Will I be better this time? And how did that prep go in terms of how quickly I got into conditioning? So I can look back also to see if I'm on track or not. And at the same time, I'm my own hardest critic, because I know exactly what I want to see in my physique in terms of like when I squeeze or squeeze my quad in the mirror, for example, and contract it and flex it. I want to see some certain cross striations on a certain part of my quad, and when I do see those, that's when I know I am very conditioned.
It's like an indication. You have certain indications where when it's there, I know in shape. Yeah, I hear you.
Because at one of these shows, the first Olympia I did, that's the first time that I didn't see that detail anymore. And that was backstage. And then I knew, okay, I'm just holding way too much water, because that detail is gone. And when that detail is gone, that means the rest is going to be less conditioned as well. And that's what taught me a lot of lessons, because you can't do so many shows back to back. And you have to make mistakes to know how to do it better next time. And I've made plenty of mistakes, and every time you learn. So I learned a lot from the shows that I've done already, and I think that's going to help me a lot in the future as well.
Right. I'm just glad you said you asked your girlfriend, because this is what I tell to other people. And I mean, Dennis Wolf was the same. I was the same. Do you really want to know? Ask your girlfriend or ask your wife, because she sees you every day. She sees you. She watches you when you don't even see it. You know what I mean?
True,
so she has different indications in your body. She looks at you and she sees you walking away with no shirt on. She sees your lower back moving. Or she looks at other things that we can't tell.
Exactly.
That's why, Dennis fared well with this. Everybody that has a girlfriend or a wife, I think that's what they do, because if she's honest and if she's not scared of you, because a lot of people, some people feel like, okay, what do you think what I look like? I think you hold too much water. You don't know what the fuck you talking about. There's those people, you know what I mean? There's those kind. But if she can tell you the truth and you can take it, they think this is the perfect move. Girlfriends always know.
Yeah, I think so too. And you told a lot of things that are very recognizable for me, because exactly when I get out of bed and my back is faced towards her, she either says, oh, you still see the love handles, or your lower back is coming in. And those small things, that's getting in your head and say, okay, maybe I should change my diet now. Maybe I should do it a bit quicker. Yeah. And that's very useful, helpful for sure.
Yeah. My wife used to tell me, your ass is still sagging.
Stuff like that, yeah.
So you competed at what, 2 Olympias so far?
Yeah, 2 Olympias. I skipped one of them for a longer off season because at the first Olympia I didn't have the mass or the conditioning. Okay. So one thing I needed time for is the mass. So that's when I took about a year off to really build more muscle on my frame, because I didn't hit the weight limit yet. And that really worked out, because I gained quite a lot of muscle on the weaker points in my body. Of course, you're never done, you're never perfect, but at least the critiques I've gotten are now a lot less. And at the last Olympia, I at least saw that the mass is now truly there to get into that top spot, at least the top 6. But now it's the conditioning that needs to be better.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I knew Wesley Vissers, but I didn't really follow the things you were doing. But I saw pictures and videos, but I realized that your pictures leading up to the Olympia, I saw a huge change in your physique. It looked like your condition got better. It looked like the size was there. You posted a tremendous amount of pictures, which I think helped you not only to be recognized as one of the best in the Classic Physique, because you are one of the best, but also I think it helped you with your fan base, because people don't understand. The fans appreciate you showing them what's happening in your life and showing you, progress pictures and updates. That's something that the fans would love. They appreciate it. And that's why I think you gained a lot of followers by showing them and letting them into your daily routine, so to say. So what did you change from the year before to this last Olympia, 2020 Olympia, where you made that, it looks like you gained 10 pounds?
Yeah, the biggest change I made is I used to go to the gym without a plan and do a workout based on what I was feeling like. So, I walked into the gym. The bench press is free. I'm going to do the bench press first, then a dumbbell press, then a cable fly, then a dip. But the order would change every single time randomly depending on what I felt like what I was doing. The weight wasn't being tracked. The volume was different every single time. It was more on instinct. But when you get to the top level of the Olympia, you have to standardize your training. At least I have to do so to actually make that next step of growth.
Right.
So that's when I started to log my lifts and actually write down my workouts. Every single time, do the exact same workout, get stronger on every single exercise. And really, that way I could, make sure that I was actually objectively progressing. Because, for example, the seated row starting with 90 kilos and then over time going to 100, 110, 120 with the same form, then objectively, something is changing for the better here.
Right.
And when you stop progressing on a movement, that's when I changed it out again to make sure that my physique was going to keep changing towards building more muscle. And especially for my back and my legs, that was really a big necessary change, because they grew quite a lot compared to the first Olympia. And I just noticed the training was very underrated in terms of how much of an effect it can have on your physique. Even if your diet, supplementation, everything is perfect, you can still train much harder and smarter to actually gain that extra muscle that you never thought you could gain that quickly. So that was the biggest change, basically.
So, going to the Olympia, were you happy with the placing?
Not really, because my goal was the top 6, my initial goal. And then my secondary goal was, if they all are bang on, then top 10. But I didn't make top 10 either. I was 11th. So being 11th means that you can't do your posing routine in the evening, so you're not a part of the finals.
Right.
So that's the most stinging part about this.
Did you know that? Did you know that going into the Olympia that only the top 10 will pose?
Yeah, the first Olympia I did, there was the same story. So, but then I was shared 14th place. And I didn't really expect to be in the top 10 anyway, because I knew beforehand my shape wasn't as good. But this time I kind of did expect to be in the top 10. But I do think it's an important lesson that they have taught me, the judges. They tell me, you do have the potential, but you do have to be at your best for us to put you in the top 10, because the top 10 actually means something for the Olympia. And we know that you can be better because they saw me more conditioned than other shows. So that's, in my mind, what they're trying to tell me, that I didn't show my full potential on stage. And I know that to be true. But, the stinging part is that I couldn't show my improved physique that same evening anymore, because I wasn't included in the finals.
Gotcha.
And sometimes you can see in the open class that can actually change the placing quite a lot, because they change their protocol during the day to actually lose the layer of water that held them back in the prejudging, and then show it a lot of improvements in the physique in the finals. And I didn't get that chance, and I did actually make those changes to look a lot better in the evening, but no one got to see it because I wasn't included in the finals. So So that's the only negative part for me.
Were you expecting to be top 10 after prejudging by the
prejudging? Well, actually, the day of the show itself, I knew, okay, I overdid it with the carb loading because I still had some detail, more detail for sure than the last time, but not the crispiness that I was showing the weeks prior on my Instagram, on my YouTube videos. People were expecting.
I remember. Yeah,
to be very crisp, and it really was, because when I looked in the mirror, I was like, wow, I don't even believe I have achieved this kind of conditioning. So the mistake I made was, okay, this can't go wrong anymore. I have a bigger physique, so when I fill this out, I'm going to be unbeatable. That's what you think in your mind. Mm-hmm. But that's a mistake, because it's a risk. And now you know why it's a risk, because it didn't pay off. I was very full on stage, but on the Olympia, nowadays, even in Classic Physique, you have to be ultra conditioned. And that's what I couldn't show because of that extra water, because of the overloading of the carbs. So at the morning of the show and around the prejudging and backstage, I realized, okay, I don't have the best shape, but I still believe that if my presentation was good, and I knew I had the muscle mass, that a top 10 would be possible. But at the same time, I wasn't very surprised it didn't make a top 10, because, you know, I've been there a few times where I didn't make a top 10, even though people believed I could have placed higher. And that it happened a few times, so it wasn't a bigger surprise to me, but still I did hope to be in the top 10. Yeah.
So you weren't sure after prejudging that by looking at the call outs that, you know, there's a possibility that I'm not even in the top 10.
Yeah, when my dad was there, he actually filmed everything, so I could see it live on video, like 20 minutes after prejudging, and I saw immediately that from the back, my conditioning, especially the hamstrings, weren't there compared to the guy standing next to me. And even though they were smaller, it doesn't matter, because, you know, I could have more muscle, but if I can't show the definition, it's not gonna help me at all.
Do you think that it might have been also because, you know, I mean, judges, they see Instagrams too. I mean, you know, Steve Weinberger, he's on Instagram. Yeah. You think that they expected you to come in looking like you portrayed in all the pictures leading up, and they were maybe a little disappointed that it wasn't even close to that?
I think that plays definitely a factor into their decision making, because they want to see what you can truly show them. And if you don't, and I already showed it on Instagram and social media, so it's not like I don't have it. Yeah. But when it comes to actually those few minutes on stage, that's when it counts. I mean, all the pictures that you posted, they don't matter. I
went through this in my career because I was living in Thailand, you know, back in the days when there was no social media. So we had no social media to show what we looked like or what we do. I was the one who started pre-contest progress pictures. It was my idea because, like I said, I was living in Thailand and I was so far away from the center of the sport. I tell myself, what can I do to somewhat create a hype, because these people don't know me in America. You know, I would go over there flying from Thailand. They don't even know. By the time you get there, it's too late because, you know. Yeah. So I said, let me upload some pictures. Every week I took pictures outside the gym, upload them with dial-up networking. It took 45 minutes for one picture. It was crazy. But I took, you know, fully pumped, gym pump, out of the gym, took pictures. I scared the shit out of the world. You know, it helped me, you know, to create a name, to get a name in the U.S., even though I was not living anywhere near. But it hurt me in some ways, because when you take pictures, 3 or 4 weeks out, being totally ready to go, fully pumped, and you don't bring that. You can't go backstage. I mean, there's some equipment there, but you can't get a full body workout and train like you would train when you don't do that. There's nerves. There's, you know, less fluid. You know, there's the pumps. So you can't create that same look on stage, and therefore I thought it hurt me. a lot of times where people thought, I'm coming in, though, he's going to win the Olympia. He could win the Olympia. And then you come in looking, like nobody else posted any pictures but me. And next thing you know, I'm not what I was in the pictures. And that, I don't want to say it hurt me, because at the end of the day, I didn't deserve it. I didn't deserve to place higher than I did place. I mean, sometimes I did play, sometimes I didn't. But yeah, I prefer to do what you do, because we're in a time of social media. Your fans are the ones that will make you and they can break you. Exactly, at the end of the day, you're doing this for yourself and you're doing this for the fans. And keep doing what you're doing. I don't want you to stop showing us what you look like leading up to the show, because you will eventually figure it out. To bring that package on stage. And I believe if you do, then you will be in the top 3. And you'll be fighting, because you are one of the taller guys. How tall are you?
Officially, last Olympia I was 6'3".
Yeah, so you're tall. You're not taller. You're probably one of the tallest.
Yeah, one of the tallest, yeah.
Yeah, so if you fill out that frame, you got that good looks. You got the full package. You bring everything to the table that they're looking for in a classic physique guy. You got the body, you got the look, and you got the poses. So at the end of the day, all you need to do, and it's a little harder for somebody your height to fill out that frame, to look as massive as some of the guys, not your height, because you got the longer limbs. But if you do, and which I think you did, because you got great shots. Bring that condition, and I think you be a factor. You're 27 years old. You have time is on your side.
Very true, yeah.
I believe that I also believe Logan Franklin. I think that there will be the time where you are the guys leading the pack, and everybody's chasing you guys, because, there's generations, and then there's a switch of generations. It's going to come. Right now, it's Chris, Brian, Terrence, Alex Cambanero, but I think you guys are right there. They're just waiting for you to nail it at the Olympia. And I believe you will be, and I believe your fan base will be just as huge as Chris Bumstead's, because
that would be awesome.
I believe fans appreciate guys like you, So therefore, I mean, all you have to do is just bring it. Bring what you show on Instagram. Bring that to the stage, and I don't think they can deny you. There's no denying you at all.
Yeah, you're very right about when you're in the gym and you're working out, you just train chest and triceps, and you get the best pumps you've ever seen, and you're like, okay, if this translates to stage, nobody can stand in my way. That's what you think at that moment, and that's what I think when I'm like fully pumped up and I have no worries. I just had a nice workout. I was drinking, nothing to worry about. That's when I look like, okay, I believe in myself. I can truly actually get a shot at being in that top call-out and actually being compared to Chris himself, like the number 1 in the world. So that belief is very important to have. And now it's time to actually indeed bring that shape with that conditioning and fullness on my frame to the stage. And then I do believe, like you say, a top 3, that would just be an amazing thing to happen. That would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see why not. I really don't see why not. All you got to do is just keep going. Like I said, you're 27 years old. You got so much time. How old is Chris? Chris is also really young, is he?
He's a bit younger than me. I think either 25 or 26.
Yeah,
like he's very young.
Imagine where he's at this age. This is crazy.
That's unbelievable. Yeah.
This is crazy. But hey, listen. 27 is still a baby. I called you a baby. So, so when do you start your prep for the? You have to qualify.
Yeah, I do have to qualify still.
So what are your plans for 2021? How did you get back on the Olympia stage?
My plan is to do the show in Portugal in about I think about 13 weeks now.
Oh yeah.
I've been prepping for about 3 weeks, and ever since the Olympia, when I left the stage, I was like, I'm not finished yet. I didn't show what I wanted to show. So I never really got into an off-season shape, because I was like hanging on to, okay, maybe there's another show I can show up now and show my physique. But due to Corona, of course, due to the whole circumstances, no shows were available. And every time that there was a show in Europe, then it was pushed back and back until now. This one should be more of a certainty, because it's more towards July, mid-July. And, that it's a bigger show, I believe. So
you have a plan B?
Popular one. Sorry?
You have a plan B just in case?
I think there's a show after that in Spain as well. So I'm gonna try, of course, and do very well in the first one and qualify right away. And it's my belief that if I don't win a show and I show up at my best, then it's always hard for me to convince myself that I'm worthy of that year's Olympia. Every single time that I qualified, I just won the pro show right away without any doubts, like straight first place from every judge. And that's when I know, okay, I am really the best in this show. I deserve to go to the Olympia, because if that same guy who just beat me in the previous show shows up again at the Olympia, I mean, if the judging is the same, he's going to place higher than me again. So, you know, when I go to the Olympia, I really think about the victory of that show, just like any other show. And that's the belief that I really have. And of course, you have a belief in yourself that you want to be number one. And next to that, a realistic belief. And that's where the top 6 comes in mind. But then it's hard for me to focus on the Olympia if I lost a contest a few months prior to someone also going to the Olympia, because then you're going there a little bit defeated. At least that's what I feel like, because that will be the first time that happened to me.
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
Yeah, but it happens, you know, and it happens that people qualify, but they're not at their best because they want to peak at the Olympia, you know, and it happened to me. I got beat by people qualifying for the Olympia, and at the Olympia I beat them because, you know, at the end of the day, the judges know when they look at you, you know, okay, he's much better. It's like you said earlier, you looked a certain way for prejudging. If they would have let you come back at night, you would have showed a different package. And they would have probably realized that in the confirmation round, and it would have moved you up. So I trust in our judging system. I trust in our judges that they see, you know, as long as you're qualified, once you step on the Olympia stage, they're judging from beginning. It's not like
pretty much a fresh start then.
Yes, it's not like they're looking at, okay, he lost to him 3 weeks ago, so now, okay, we can't put him ahead of him. That's not possible. That would be like William Bonac winning at the Arnold last year in 2020, and then he's going to get beat by Rami. How's that possible? You know what I mean?
It's not so much me doubting the judges, but it's really in my own head. Like knowing that you're going to the Olympia with a guy who already beat me. But that's something very important to actually be able to set aside, because you're right, you can actually improve your shape, and he might have a worse shape, and it might actually change things a whole lot at the Olympia itself.
And
so, I want to qualify for sure for the Olympia. And, you know, I'm just going to hope it's going to be the Portugal show. And if not, I'm going to go try do the Spain show afterwards.
I'm just always a little worried when it comes to Europe and Corona, because in Europe, you never know. Shit could start shutting down again in a month because they have problems. Here in the U.S., we're open. Everything's open. We don't wear masks anymore in Arizona. And in Germany or in Europe, they're still having all these problems and shutting things down. In Germany, they just started a new curfew. So even my show in October in Germany, my pro qualifier, is in jeopardy right now.
Wow.
It's October, and I'm already right now about almost forced to make a decision. You know, so that's why I'm asking you have a plan B, because plan B would be, what if they cancel the show?
Yeah,
and if they can't,
I would have to think about that, because the last Olympia, you know, the Netherlands has quite strict policies in terms of going to America. So that means quarantine in America itself, and when you get back home. So I would have to figure out how to do that in a more efficient way. Because
I don't know if you have to quarantine if you come to the U.S. I don't think it's necessary anymore. What you have to do is you got to get a visa now.
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah, so you have to. What you do is you got to do a PCR COVID test no later than 72 hours before your last flight directly to the United States, and then if that test is negative, you're good to go. You don't have to quarantine in the U.S. Because I know
Last time it wasn't possible to go directly to the US from the Netherlands. You had to actually go to Aruba first. There was a way, and then go to the US from Aruba.
Because they banned Europe from the European Union from traveling to the US because we were banned in the European Union, and then basically Trump banned them back.
Yeah.
So, but here's the deal. Now there's no longer travel ban. It's just now you have to get some special visa in order to enter the country. Because I know there's a few people coming for the New York Pro now from Germany, and they don't have to quarantine because it wouldn't even be possible.
Yeah, true.
So I would probably do some research on that, and just I heard that there's an amateur Olympia where they also have a pro event in Egypt.
Okay.
So maybe might be just a plan B just in case. That's I think in August, first week in August, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's actually quite smart to have a plan B outside of Europe. Now you mention it because you never know what might lock up again. Because the only benefit I have from Europe is that I can actually drive towards the destination instead of having to fly. And, I lost my suitcase once to Romania, and I never expected something like that to happen to me because you always read about it. Oh, I lost my luggage, but you never think it happens to you until the day that it does. You bring your suitcase with you, and you have essential stuff in there that you need for the show. Yeah. And when that suitcase gets lost, you're like, okay, what do I do now? Luckily, it showed up the next day.
Okay.
But it's things like this that sometimes play with your mind when you fly over to somewhere else. Yeah. Like, you can only bring so much stuff with you, and the flight takes quite a toll on your body and stuff like that. So that's why I wanted to go for Europe first. To the Royal London Pro Show, for example, that was the easiest show I've ever done in terms of travel and no stress, nothing. My shape I had back here, I could literally translate towards the stage there. So that's, when you're flying and you're different time zones and stuff like this, it always, you need some time to adjust to the different climate and the time zone and the flight. And you never know how quickly your body adjusts to it. But in Europe, I know that the shape I have at that time, I will simply carry towards the country I'm going to at that moment.
Gotcha.
So that's the benefit in my head at that moment, yeah.
But check out the show in Egypt, because I think they do have the pro events there. And Egypt from Amsterdam would be a 4-hour flight.
Yeah, it's not so bad. It's true. It's pretty close.
Yeah. So I want to run one more thing by you real quick, because I want to talk about that, because you have a clothing line.
Yeah.
Tell me about your clothing line. I mean, let us know what's going on. What made you decide to do a clothing line? Because not everybody comes out with a clothing line, but some people are smart. They think different.
Yeah, well, actually, all of that started. So I started a YouTube channel first to just show, okay, how does a guy prep for a show? What does he eat? And what does a bodybuilder do? And I called myself a classic bodybuilder before Classic Physique was around. So they knew I was genuine, actually really interested and all about classic bodybuilding, which is really what the channel Vintage Genetics stands for. And I used to watch other guys on YouTube also having a channel. And after a while, they started coming out with their own clothing line. Because what's more easy than to just show your clothing in the workout you're doing anyway on video, but then you're not wearing someone else's clothes, you're wearing your own clothing brand. And from the comments, you can see if they like it, and you get feedback. And eventually, after I got like a few, like 20 or 30,000 subscribers, that's when I started the website Vintage Genetics and actually the clothing line, and coming out with some vintage bodybuilding clothing with some logos on it, and just to see if people were interested in purchasing some clothing that isn't the same as most other bodybuilding clothing, and at the same time to support me and the channel and the brand and classic bodybuilding in general. But honestly, the moment I started the clothing line, it kind of took off quite quickly, and that was a dream come true, because I always wanted to make my living out of bodybuilding in some way or another. And doing it this way was one of the best decisions ever, because now it's quite a well-off company at the moment with, even through COVID, when I thought, okay, all the gyms are closing, who wants workout clothes when you can't work out? People were still even buying more because they were like anticipating for when they're going to work out again.
Right.
So I knew this is actually, it will work even if people can't work out. So that was a really, a big passion of mine to actually start something like this. And now we have a lot of different golden era clothing, like oversized T-shirts with, you actually wore those back in the day with the big scoop necks.
The rack tops. The rack tops.
Yeah, the rack tops. We've made several designs from those because when I saw that, I was like, okay, I want to get something like this, but there are only a few brands who have it, and sometimes it's not exactly as I would want it myself. So I just designed it myself, and I just was like, okay, this is what I would want to wear when you're a fan of classic bodybuilding, and it actually those types of clothing, what stands for classic and vintage, that's the best sellers as well. So that really means that people still want clothes like that to work out in, and that's just an awesome thing to see.
So you do it all yourself, or do you have people work for you?
Well, actually, we've done it from the beginning with the family. So right now, me, my mom, and my brother are the most active. So what I do is, of course, I promote the clothing and I make the designs on the shirts. And my mom actually does the physical work, doing the packing the packages, sending it to the post office, stuff like this. And my brother is like the guy answering the emails, more of the customer service. And they also work together really well because they still live in the town I used to live. So they're always together, basically. And I'm now here, separate from the physical location where all the clothes are. So they send me clothes and I promote it. I make the pictures, I put it on the website, and they basically make sure that people actually get the clothing. But the fact that I can do it with my own family is just an amazing thing.
That's awesome. You don't have to worry about finding people you can trust.
Exactly, yeah.
So do you, are they made in Holland?
Most of these clothing are made by a Dutch company, indeed. And they might actually, depending on the fabric, might actually go to a different country where they have a factory that actually processes that fabric. So it kind of depends on the design. But most of our clothing is now entirely custom designed, because when you first start a company, you're always going to wholesale, because you don't have anything yet. You can't really invest a whole lot into it. So you always start with wholesale items, and you put your logo on it. See if people are interested in your taste, in what you present on the web shop. And when people do, then you use that to invest back into the shop with actually custom clothing. And we have now several companies we work with who actually make the clothing. And we still want to expand more and more. We have a lot of ideas to move forward.
So you basically sell to retail only, or you have people already, distributors that buy in at wholesale from you?
Well, for now it's retail only, but we did have a few gyms before COVID who are actually purchasing it more wholesale. Right now, of course, in the Netherlands, since every gym is closed for a long time, that hasn't been the case. But usually, if we do sell bigger amounts, it's to the gyms here, and then they sell it in their own gym.
Sounds awesome. Smart move, man. So you not only pay attention to detail when it comes to bodybuilding, you smart one too. You have an exit plan for later in your future.
Yeah,
it's something that that's very smart. I like that. That's not. I wish more people would think about the future a little bit. Because bodybuilding it's all nice and great, but everything comes to an end. You can't be on top of the sport for the rest of your life. So you should have some kind of strategy, coaching or clothing or supplements or whatever, whatever you work so hard for, you create a name for yourself, and why not, benefit from, having a name that you can, make some money off, very simple.
Very true.
Awesome. So one more thing. Give me your take on the Olympia this year. Where do you see yourself, and who do you see in the top 5?
Okay, so I will see myself in the top 5. That's really what I believe. If I show up in the shape that I know I can achieve, I don't think top 5 is something crazy for me. I think it's possible. So, of course, Chris Bumstead will be in there. Rough Diesel will be in there because despite he not having the mass like some of the taller guys, he does have some incredible body parts. And of course, his posing is pretty much the best. And his presentation his total package is very classic. So I think he is going to be in the top 5 for sure. And I do think, Alex also has quite a complete physique, but not every person last year joined the Olympia that was able to, like Steve Laureus, for example. Mm-hmm. And I've seen his progress pictures, and I know that he has a lot of strengths. And whenever he posts like an Arnold Classic picture of him in shape, I'm always amazed by, wow, this guy just looks crazy. Like his proportions are out of this world, like his biceps, like he has those peaks, those classic peaks. So I think if he shows up 100%, he can land in the top 5 as well. And Brian, I think, will always be part of the top 5 because, he is an established name, even though he lowered his placing this year compared to the previous year. I think that he wants to use that as a fuel to be even better for next time, and he knows what he could have done better, I think. And maybe if Logan improves himself a lot as well, I think Logan needs a bit more mass on certain body parts. When you look at his pictures on Instagram, in certain shots, he looks, incredible. Like, he has very good body parts and very good flowing poses that he uses. And he can use the angles and the illusion of the physique very well to showcase a very well-rounded classic physique. So if he puts on mass on his physique at certain spots, like his back and his arms a bit more. He already has the leg sweep. That's almost unbeatable. So, but he has a lot of potential as well.
You just basically kicked out a top 5 guy from last year that I think has potential to be really good. Brian Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
So you kicked him out of the top 5.
Well, not yet, but I knew.
You already mentioned 6 guys.
Yeah, I know, but I don't have a solid top 5. It's more of those guys all have a shot to make the top placing because last year not everybody was there that could have been there. So it's always hard to to say exactly who, but he's also when you see him in real life, you're like, that's a cartoon character as well.
Who?
I mean, the guy you just mentioned.
Oh, Brian. Yes.
Yeah.
I had him here on the show.
Yeah.
And it's a big dude. It's really for classic. He's a big dude, and I think, and he's also not your height, but he's on the taller side. I think he's like 5'11" or 6 foot, which is tall.
Yeah,
and I think he came out of nowhere. That was his first Olympia, and placed 5th. I mean, that's
very good.
That's very good. I mean, you come into a tough lineup of guys, and they were talking about guys like you, Logan Franklin. Nobody talked about Brian Jones.
No, he was like an underdog.
Yeah, he literally just qualified at the Chicago Pro in Tampa, like a couple of weeks before the Olympia. That's where he qualified. Nobody knew who he was, and he placed 5th. And I believe that he has. Because he has the body parts, he needs a little more condition in certain areas, but I think he's working on that, so I think he will be a force. I think all you guys, Logan, you, Brian, all these guys will be moving into the top spots in the future, and I guess you guys will have a lot of battles, that we can enjoy, and I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. So I wish you all the best for, first of all, go qualify. I mean, you need to be on the Olympia stage, so go get your qualification.
For sure.
Stay safe, stay healthy, and we're looking forward to have you back on the Olympia stage representing for the real classic physiques, man. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you letting us know what's going on in your life, my friend.
Yeah, sure thing. No problem. And, I appreciate it a lot to be on this show, of course, and talking to you and hearing of your advices as well, because you're a veteran yourself. So, I appreciate it.
You could say old man. You don't have to say veteran.
Veteran sounds better.
So you have to just promise me one thing. When you win the Olympia, you come back on my show.
Oh, for sure.
All right?
Yeah. Promise.
All right, brother, man. Thank you so much. I know it's late over there. You're probably going to get some rest. We'll talk soon, man. Good luck, brother.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you.
Be safe.
See you.
Peace
Bye.
out. Bye-bye.